What's up, y'all? It's Chris here to talk a little boxing post-fight of all the stuff that happened last night. 3 fights on Showtime. First off, real quick on Sakio Bika versus Marco Antonio Paraban. Good fight. Best fight of the night by far. Didn't expect that. Wasn't really too familiar with Paraban. And Bika, he can give you some exciting fights in the past, particularly that Jadon Codrington fight. But he can be in some real not so exciting fights either. Fortunately, this was the former rather than the latter, and this was a good fight. Pretty close, but I agree with the decision. I thought Bika won the fight. I thought he landed the bigger, harder shots. I'll tell you one thing though, that Paraban guy got a hell of a chin, man, because Bika was cracking him all night long with just overhand winging shots, and Paraban never really looked like he was hurt. So good fight. That 12th round was just crazy, a whole lot of fun. Both guys were really tired, especially Bika, but they just went for it. Even a fun little post-fight interview, I guess, for Paraban, if nothing else. The guy definitely spoke his mind, but a good fight. And would love to see Bika fight a Froch next. I don't know if that's going to happen, but just I think that'd be another good barn burner in the super middleweight division. All right, Jonathan Banks, Seth Mitchell, fight that a lot of people thought it might have been the best fight of the night heading into Saturday. That obviously wasn't the case. I don't know what happened here. Early on, I wasn't surprised that Mitchell, I thought he'd come out aggressive, but I wasn't surprised that he kind of came out a little hesitant because you figure you're coming off the first loss of your career by knockout, and you're facing the same guy. He hasn't had a fight since, so he's going to have a little bit of psychological, issues going on there. It's just natural. I don't care how much power you've got in your hands. So I wasn't surprised that he was kind of, just waiting his time. But what surprised me was Banks. He hurt Mitchell in the second round? And it looked like, or the second and third round, and you look like, oh, all right, here we go. It's going to just be a repeat of the first fight. And after that, he just stopped doing anything, including punching. And I'm sitting there watching the fight, and I'm thinking to myself, what's Mitchell's strategy? He's not going to be able to outbox Banks. Well, guess what? He was able to outbox Banks because Banks wasn't boxing. I don't know what the hell happened to Banks. I seen a post-fight somewhere, or maybe Fight News. Banks said he did all that he could. Just because you train Vladimir Klitschko doesn't mean you have to fight as conservatively as Vladimir Klitschko. I don't get it. He hurt Mitchell later on in the fight as well. Kind of went for it, but didn't get it. I just don't know, man. Credit to Mitchell. He got hurt a couple times in the fight, but he still kept going forward, and he just did enough work to get the decision here. It was a terrible fight. I would never watch it again. But Mitchell gets the win. Mitchell is not ever going to, if he challenges for the heavyweight title ever, he may, but I don't know if he's going to win it, man. I don't even know if he's going to get to a title opportunity because that chin just is not going to stand up against some of the bigger hitters in the heavyweights. And as for Banks, any possible chance at any future title opportunity, this was a lose-lose situation. He had nothing to gain by beating Mitchell again and everything to lose, and that's exactly what happened. And he only has himself to blame based on his terrible effort and performance. All right, main event. Adrien Broner, Paulie Malignaggi. All right, I was wrong. I was completely wrong. And I'm glad I was wrong. This was a lot better fight than I expected and a lot more competitive. I thought that Paulie was going to get blown out the water, and I guess more so than anything, because I was thinking about the Paulie Malignaggi and Amir Khan fight. I was thinking about, I was just comparing the fights. And I was comparing where Khan was at that time, and where Broner is now. So I thought to myself, Broner hits harder, Broner's younger. I thought Broner was better at that point of his career than Khan was back then. And Malignaggi's a little bit older, a little bit more tread on the tire, so to speak. So I figured Broner would have his way with him. Not quite the case. Paulie early on tried to set the tone, and I think he did, with a lot of activity, sticking to his jab mostly, occasionally throwing that right, throwing a lot of punches out there. And Broner kind of just laying back. He does start slow at times, kind of just being defensive, trying to pot shot Paulie, occasionally throwing a jab in there. Straight right, lead right. Broner's got good defense, give him that, the way he kind of lays back. He just got a lot of power in his punches, but it's just like the first few rounds you're waiting. You're like, okay, when's Broner going to start going for it? When's he going to start letting his hands go? Try to impose his will, his strength, because it did look bigger than Paulie. Paulie may have been fighting a welterweight longer, but Broner looked a lot bigger and stronger than Paulie did. But I don't know, Broner. I mean, he landed flush a couple times and it looked like he really hurt Paulie, or at least buzzed him. But he just never really kept a steady momentum on offense. Land shots here and there, but never really stuck with anything. And Paulie, Paulie was just trying to touch him up, stay active, and just take the rounds by landing more punches, throwing by doing more. And I think that's why he was able to have success, the success that he was able to have. And of course, Broner, I guess you would say, landed the more meaningful punches. I don't know. He landed the harder shots. There's no denying that. But he just didn't do enough. At least not, I wouldn't say he didn't do enough, but he didn't do what I expected. I imagine if Broner would have fought the way that Paulie did. Not to say, obviously he doesn't need to fight that way. And I'm not saying by throwing as many punches as Malignaggi did, because I think Broner actually might have landed more punches. He did have a much higher percentage. But imagine if he fought with the same sense of urgency, or just fought as hard as Malignaggi did in that fight. Put out that much of an effort that Paulie did. He would have probably easily won that fight, and maybe would have stopped Paulie. But that's not the way he fought, for whatever reason. I don't know if it's because he couldn't get his offense off, because Paulie was throwing so much. I don't know if it's because, maybe he's adjusting to the weight, although I don't really see how that's an issue. I don't really see that being much of a problem. I'm not really for sure what it is, but I kept waiting for Broner to just turn it on and take over this fight and really just work over Paulie, and it never really happened, even in the final round. Now, I will say, there was never a point in the fight where I really thought that Paulie was in control. Even when he was winning rounds, I didn't think, okay, he's in control, he's going to take this fight easy. I always thought that Broner could turn the fight in his direction with one shot. Or, like I said, I was always waiting for him to get going. And he did here and there, just not fully committed for whatever reason, like I said. At the end of the day, though, I didn't score the fight, but I did think that Broner I thought Broner had won the fight. After watching the fight, not scoring it, I thought Broner deserved to win the fight. So I was kind of surprised by a split decision, but I can see where you can make a case for Paulie. I have no problems with the decision. 117, 111 may be a little bit wide. I don't know. I didn't score it, like I said. But more than anything, much respect to Paulie Malignaggi for putting on a much better performance than I thought he would. And for Broner, I really don't know what to think, man. This is a guy that's got a ton of potential. He's got all the talent in the world. He's got skills, got defense, speed, power. It's all there. But I don't know. That performance just, coming off the win over DeMarco, I expected a lot more in this fight from him, and I just didn't see it. I'm not going to get down on him like a lot of people are, saying, oh, this guy is not the next Mayweather. Maybe he's not. Maybe those comparisons were a little bit early, but I by no means am going to think that, based off this one performance, this guy's a bust, or this guy doesn't have the talent or the ability to be the future pound-for-pound king in a couple years. I still think that's within grasp for him. He just has to, not fight like he did yesterday or last night. As for what's next for Broner, he said we pick his opponent, the fans. Matisse. That's who I want. I would love to see him fight Matisse next. That's not going to happen. I doubt it. Would love to see it, but I doubt it. More than likely, maybe a Marcos Maidana, maybe a Robert Guerrero, maybe a Victor Ortiz. I could see him fighting any of those guys. Provodnikov, I don't know if Provodnikov's with Top Rank or not. If he is, that ain't happening. Obviously, Bradley, that ain't happening. Marquez. Any of these Top Rank guys, those fights aren't happening, so there's no point even mentioning them. Pacquiao, Rios, Alvarado, don't even think about it because it ain't going to happen. But I'd love to see Matisse. But if not him, I'm cool with Maidana or Guerrero. Not really Victor Ortiz so much. But we'll see. As for Paulie, though, what's next for him? Honestly, Amir Khan's moving up to 147. I'd like to see that rematch. I wouldn't have thought that before, because Khan, I thought, beat him pretty clearly when they first fought, but Khan didn't look so good in his last fight against Julio Diaz. He's moving up in weight, and like I said, Paulie looked better than I expected last night, so I wouldn't mind seeing that rematch if Paulie's going to keep fighting, which I believe he is. Anyways, I've said plenty here, more than I usually do on post-fight vids, but what are your guys' thoughts on the fights? Any of the three or all three? And what do you see in the future for any of these guys, particularly Broner or Malignaggi? Who do you want to see him in against next? And what do you think about the fight overall? How'd you score it? Any other thoughts in general? Links to Science of Violence and my Twitter and their face review as always. That's it for now. Till next time, I'm out.